Today we're going to talk about publishing your electronic lab notebook to some remote server. And I'm going to use GitHub and GitHub Pages for that. First, I want to talk about why we would do that. So far, we've looked at Emacs as the primary user interface, and we use Emacs to create our notebook pages as org files, and I've been using Emacs to consume those pages, by which I mean read them, navigate them, search them, etc. And this is great for me. I've been working in Emacs for several decades at this point, so it feels very natural, but new people are not familiar with it, and you might want a different format for them to see, to view. You may need to take your notebook and push it to a third party for timestamping, verification, etc. So what we're going to do today is look at publishing it, which is how do we take this collection of work files that is this notebook and publish it to a collection of HTML. You could use PDF or Jupyter notebooks, any format you can convert org to, and there are many, Markdown, and you can write your own code to customize it. And then we'll push that out to GitHub, and that will let GitHub use something called GitHub Pages to serve that. And so then my notebook will actually have a public-facing website. Now, there is already a pseudo website. If we look at what happens in our browser, since I've been pushing all the raw files to GitHub, you can see them here. You can navigate this by code. And you see it does a mediocre job in my mind of rendering the org mode, and these links even sometimes work and go to the right place. And so there is already a pseudo web-based way of navigating your notebooks. It has all these files over here and all the stuff that comes with GitHub, so it may not be the thing you want, but it actually kind of comes for free when you're pushing this to GitHub. And what I would like instead is to have a more formal website that is navigatable and in a browser and that you can access. Now, this is a public repo, and GitHub Pages works for public repos. If you need a private one, then you have a couple of options. You can pay GitHub and get GitHub Pages for private repos, or you can run your own web server and with permissions and everything, and then you can take the HTML we're going to generate and send it back and host it anywhere you want. Okay, so we're going to do this with the org publish framework. This is something that works out of the box with org mode, and we'll get to it, but we're going to do a little bit of setup first. So first I'm going to go to the GitHub Emacs ELN settings, and over here, this is on the settings tab over here, we have to click on pages, and then down here we're going to select the main branch and the docs folder. So I'm going to keep this super simple, and we'll keep the HTML in our main branch. There are other ways. If you read, click on these links, you can set up another branch like GitHub Pages that only holds the HTML. It's a little trickier to set up, and so we're just going to publish our HTML into a docs folder on the main branch. And then we're going to have a URL up here that we can click on. I have a custom domain set up for my GitHub main GitHub repo, so that's why it looks like kitchengroup.chemie.cmu.edu, and then Emacs ELN is the name of this particular repo. So that's the main thing you have to do, is set up the GitHub Pages down here. Okay, then we do need to set up an index file. So the way GitHub Pages work, and most web pages, they expect there to be an index.html file. And so I made one. And this just has a redirect in it. So my main file is readme, not index. And so I just created an index.org file that has this HTML code in it, and it will simply redirect when you go to index into the README file. So it's not actually that interesting. So then the next step is that we have to set up a small Elisp script, Emacs Lisp, and this is where we set up the kind of directions for publishing. And you can read all about this in the org mode documentation. It's pretty extensive. There's simple examples, there's complicated examples. We're going to have a fairly simple example here. And I here create some temporary variables so I can reuse them. These are just the path, and I guess I don't even need both of these. I could just use the base directory. How about if I just get rid of build, since they're the same, and then I'll just change this to be base. So the gist of what's happening in here is that we specify a project A list, and we have to give it a name, and then this is a P list of properties. So we're going to use the base directory. We're going to use publish all the org files. We're going to publish them into the docs directory, and we will not publish the docs directory since that's where the code's going. I set recursive, so this will recurse through all of the directories, and then for each org file we use org HTML publish to HTML as a function. It takes that org file and publishes it to HTML. Now there are a bunch of static files like images, movies, some sound bites, and so we also want to publish those so that they show up, and that's all that this particular one here does. So we have a task for the org files and a task for the static files. There are other things we could use here. We could use this a function here that turns it into a PDF, or another function that turns org into IPython notebooks. But I'm just keeping it simple here. And then at the bottom here, we put together all the components. And so then when I publish this by name, it's going to publish the HTML task and the static task. All right, so I can run this, and you can see at the bottom it is scrolling through all of the files, is making lots of new files. It doesn't take very long. I feel like, let's see. I just ran it twice. Oh, okay, yeah, so it goes through everything. And we can check out what the local version is here. So if I run this block, and switch over to my browser, this is what you see. Up here you can see a local file. There are links to everything. If I click on, say, PyCSE, we have this. You see these figures. I can click on a journal link. One thing that is maybe a little bit missing is, let's look at org publish sitemap. I don't have a sitemap, and looks like we need to add maybe auto sitemap and make that true. So let's go back and see, because some of the journal articles entries are going to be missing. And let's just see, where did it go? We have a sitemap.html. And so probably I need to make a link to that. Let's see how it looks in the browser first. Actually, let's see what happens. So this does actually get me to the files there. And here we have a sitemap. It doesn't look as useful as I would have thought. I thought there would be like a journal and stuff like that. But it's okay. There's lots of tweaking that that one can do. And this has all been local so far. We can, I showed you, we can check that out. And then the next thing we have to do is add these and commit them and push it out to GitHub. So I'll push this, and it doesn't take long to do. It's just added the docs. I had previously run this before, so some of this was already committed. And now we can visit our new notebook by clicking on the link that it says to take us there. And this is what we have now out in on GitHub. And so you see, you know, there's rendering to do items here. If I click on PyCSC, and maybe we'll check out this README. The code looks better than it did in GitHub because this has been rendered in HTML. And you can view it like this. Some things that are kind of not great on this, you know, very simple vanilla is there's not any kind of search bar, and you certainly could add a search bar. You could integrate this with some JavaScript and some CSS files that would allow you to search it through the browser. Otherwise, this is just an easier way to look at what's happening. Like I could copy this link and send it to a person, and as long as they have permission, they would be able to jump directly to a place in the notebook. So that's sort of the main idea of this, is that we have lots of say about how we interact with our notebook. This is now a version that is stored out on GitHub, and it's just HTML, so as long as we have browsers in the future, you can look at this, you can read it. Again, it's also possible to make a PDF version. I think it's probably not super hard. Let's see, Control H, org, PDF, publish, org LaTeX. Publish to PDF is the command that we would use if we wanted to make PDFs. So let's do it for fun. I'll just duplicate this one, name this to PDF, and change this function to org LaTeX publish to PDF, and maybe we'll make this, see if we can make it in there, and then I'll add down here the PDF version. And now if I run this, going to make a bunch of HTML, and run into some error. Let's see if we can see what. Oh, maybe it's not an important error. Docs. Maybe it was. This was just a Lispy error, so it's doing the publish. Building PDFs is a little bit longer because it is going to run LaTeX, and then so I see it's doing that for some. And it looks like there's some errors, maybe some undefined citations. And then I guess I'll just say yes. So that one is probably because I had citations but no bibliography source, and so it wasn't super thrilled because Fluid LaTeX is trying to make those. There should be some golden rule that you think about every time. You never know it works until it works. And LaTeX is a lot less forgiving than HTML. But we have now a directory of PDFs, at least some that we can look at, and you could look at these. So it seems pretty obvious. You know, we might need to put in a little bit of effort to make sure that our notebook is fully convertible to PDF, and that some errors in when you're compiling don't make it fail. But otherwise, that is sort of the main focus of this video, is just converting these into various different forms that can be published. I think that's all for today. So that now gives me a new way to view my notebook that is hosted by GitHub, and you could envision having some kind of hook that automatically publishes this, or you could run it manually on some schedule. It's even conceivable you could get GitHub Actions to do this, but you would have to replicate your kind of Emacs environment so that you could use Emacs to do this. For example, you need Emacs and some other packages to be built and compiled for Emacs to be able to do this. You could set up a script that does this and have that run, you know, on every push or something like that, so that it's always up to date. But normally I do this kind of thing manually and make myself a repeating agenda to build and update it. So that seems like a topic for another day.